We have the Right Honourable Bijan Kian. We are very honoured to have you with us, sir. Thank you for staying up at this unearthly hour in California. Bijan Kian is twice confirmed by the Senate of the United States. He's a former senior official of the United States government. He served as deputy lead for the Office of Director of National Intelligence in President Trump's presidential transition team in 2016 to 17. His public statements and publications reflect his own personal opinion. He's here talking to us on a very interesting testimony that he's been in interrogation. He will tell us more about it, and then hopefully we can investigate it more in the question and answers. So, Bijan, thank you very much for bearing with us with all our technical problems. We're very grateful that we see you smiling back at us and not angry with us. And we look forward to hearing your presentation. You have 10 minutes, sir.
Well, Roya John, thank you so much for inviting me, but I also like to thank the organizers, the Association of Iranian Researchers, and your distinguished speakers for sharing their thoughts this morning. Yes, it's my pleasure to join you 4 o'clock in the morning in California. Good morning, London. I'd like to add to that introduction that you so kindly provided for me to say that I'm a volunteer at the Institute for Voices of Liberty. Institute for Voices of Liberty has a political identity which follows the will of what we call freedom-seeking people of Iran, those who renounce and reject the entirety of the institution of Islamic Republic and its constitution and its related institutions, those who believe in preservation of territorial integrity and cultural diversity of Iran, and those who believe in a government by the people, for the people, based on 4 principles of consent, participation, equality, not of income or assets, but equality of opportunities, and most importantly, freedom to choose. Meaning, if they said yes yesterday to anything, they should be able to say no any day, according to the law. So with that introduction, I'd like to say that, previous speakers talked about militarization of 2 regions of Iran, Sistan and Baluchistan and Kurdistan. Today, I'm not going to spend the time reciting plenty of evidence on why there is such a level of poverty in the region of Sistan and Baluchistan. Instead, I'm going to focus on why. Why is this government in the past 44 years has been continuously militarizing this region? And I would like to do this in describing it in 3 scenes. By the way, this is not a fairy tale. It's not stories made up by people who are fed up with the tyranny of Islamic Republic. What I'm about to share with you is a personal testimony of an eyewitness from inside Iran, very close to the system. Very soon, this confidential source will come and join you and others to tell the story that I'm about to tell you. Scene 1 starts from the end of the Iran-Iraq War. Qasem Soleimani was not the sharpest knife in the kitchen in the war. There were others who had more military victories, who had more in their resumes to boast about. Qasem Soleimani was not one of them. He was from Kerman. He was sent back to Kerman to lead the IRGC unit there. Well, the neighboring province of Sistan and Baluchistan needed also a representative in IRGC, and the government does not trust people who were in the IRGC from Sistan and Baluchistan to be in command of the forces in that region. They asked Qasem Soleimani to go there and take over that region. Soon after that, Qasem Soleimani found out, it was so obvious he didn't have to find out, it was right there for him to see, that 40% of all the opium probably in the region, probably in the world, enters through the border with Afghanistan and Pakistan in Iran and exits through the Kurdistan region in the West. He was not a businessman. He didn't know. He was trained in perhaps leading young people to their deaths carelessly. He had no military training. He had no education in military tactic or strategy. And even worse than that, he had no idea about the economics of anything. So at this time, he is now aided by another so-called general from the IRGC. I mean, these people, as you all may know, became generals with 1 stars and 2 stars at age 19. And this other 19-year-old general was none other than a person who sits today as the Speaker of the Parliament, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf. Apparently, he had a sense for business, and he was sent by those who made the decisions in and around decision makers at the time to aid Qasem Soleimani in turning a crisis into an opportunity. The crisis was the uncontrollable opium trade. And the controls that they wished to put in place was to somehow benefit from this. So Ghalibaf joins Qasem Soleimani, and together they go to Mr. Khamenei, the so-called supreme leader of the Islamic Republic. And they present a case to him. And that case is the following: that, we are about to fund Quds Force. Quds Force is the external arm of IRGC with a charter and a mission to blow things up and kill people. It needs a budget. The budget, we cannot take it to the parliament, present it to the deputies, and ask them to approve the budget to kill people and blow things up. We need money. So why don't we control the opium trade to be able to create a source of revenue? Now, we're talking about the actors in this: Qasem Soleimani, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, and Khamenei himself, who endorsed this plan. To further convince him that this is a good idea, and perhaps he didn't need any convincing to do because he was thinking about solving the problem, funding the Quds Force. They said this opium is going to exit through Kurdistan into Europe and make young Europeans addicted to opium, and this would be a great victory for Islam. So this reasoning was very, very appetizing for Khamenei, and he personally approved the plan. And with that, we saw the continuation of a charade later on, even endorsed by the State Department in the United States in 2001. There was a big, big fanfare about how the government of Islamic Republic is cooperating with the government of the United States in curbing the trade of opium in the region. This report is public, and it's accessible by anyone who's interested to read it. It leaves the question of where did the information come from? How was it validated? Who investigated this cooperation and the results that it produced? Was it for political expediency that a report was published to show, that the IRGC is cooperating with the United States government in an anti-narcotics mission? Was there any truth to it? Well, I'm going to fast forward to just a few months ago, where the daughter of Qasem Soleimani discusses the personal story of how the number one smuggler in the region was a regular guest at lunches in their home. This is not a bunch of dissidents outside of Iran talking about this. It's Qasem Soleimani's daughter, Zainab, who's telling the story. You've perhaps heard that story directly from her. She's describing a close relationship between the number one smuggler, the man by the name of Iduk Avri, and Qasem Soleimani. And that's really telling as to what was going on. The glorious report from the State Department says that this cooperation was so successful that the trade was reduced, and this was an amazing cooperation and success, and builds it as if it was a real uh, effort to reduce the volume of opium entering Iran. Well, evidence shows something else. What we have in front of us is not only the confession by the daughter of Qasem Soleimani that a relationship existed there, but also looking at the question of funding the Quds Force. Where did the money come from? That is a question that needs to be asked. The second scene that I like to describe is what happened next. What happened next was systematic corruption allowed Qasem Soleimani and Alibaba. These are just two of them. I'm sure they share the wealth with others within this institutionalized corruption in Iran. But they built a fortune. Part of the money from the opium trade was spent by Alibaba in his campaign for the post of the mayor of the city of Tehran. The rest was deposited in charitable foundations, today run by Zainab Soleimani, the daughter of Qasem Soleimani, and the wife of Mohammad Baqir Ghalibaf. And if you're asking yourself, where does Ms. Zainab Soleimani get millions of dollars to donate to Lebanon's Hezbollah and others? Perhaps Islamic Jihad, maybe Hamas. Where does she get the money? Did she earn it through some particular skills, or did the money come from the opium from across the border? So these are the questions that need to be really looked at seriously. The point is, the government of Islamic Republic has been intentionally depriving the people of Sistan and Baluchistan. 4 million people are being systematically deprived of economic development by the Islamic Republic. This is an issue that needs to be investigated, interrogated by all those. And I know there are distinguished individuals here whose business has been to investigate these matters and get to the truth. I believe there are very specific actions that need to be taken about this issue, needs to be opened up, and all those who have participated in creating this image that there is cooperation in fighting narcotics must take shared responsibility in what has happened. An old friend of mine used to say, truth fears no questions. I think it's important that the truth is investigated and is found. And as for the future, I'd like to suggest a call for action on two fronts. Number one, fully investigating this 2001 report by the United States Department of State independently to see if there is any truth about this intentional deprivation of economic development for the people of Sistan and Baluchistan. And number two, a personal experience is the basis for the next call. When we went to Afghanistan, we had successes, we had failures, mostly failures, but we had a few good things that happened there. One of the best things that happened there was the United States Geological Survey. It's an institution that finds treasures on the ground and natural resources, found that there is more than $3 trillion of precious metals and other rare metals, rare earth material under the soil in Afghanistan, which could be used for development of the country. Same thing needs to happen for Iran's Sistan and Baluchistan. It's important. Whether the United States Geological Survey is encouraged to do that or by law is allowed to do that, I'm not sure. what it takes to do that, but it needs to be done. What hasn't happened in Sistan and Baluchistan must happen as soon as possible. There is a generational window that's closing. Iran has a very young population, but this population is getting old fast. And the number of people who work, and the number of people who need to be supported by the government are not in balance. Once that window is closed, it's very difficult to turn back the clock. That's not how economics for generations work. I like to finish by saying that there is injustice today in Sistan and Baluchistan. And if anyone is asking what's in it for me, why do I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to join distinguished speakers here at this very timely conference? It's because it's important, because we all carry that responsibility. I've said this before, I would say it again. Until injustice is corrected, we're all from Sistan, we're all from Baluchistan, we're all Kurds, we're all part of the oppressed people in Iran, who some have been intentionally deprived of their economic development in those regions. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm happy to stay. If there are any questions, I can answer to the best of my ability.
I'm very grateful. Thank you.